Okay, hey everybody, welcome back to the Military Adapted Sports Program Cycle Clinic. It is July of 2020, and we're coming to you here from bright and sunny, 95 degrees at Walter Reed Military Medical Center in Bethesda, Maryland. We have a second ride for our clinic here that Coach Ray and Coach Greta are going to take us through. Today, we're going to save all of our chat for the end, so I'm going to stop talking, and we're just going to say hello to everyone. I know we have folks, so over there I see Andres there. We've got Gunny Rose there, so some folks from all over the country. Thank you for joining us. We're going to hit it with a second workout today, and then we'll save about 10 minutes or so at the end for some Q&A. So save up your questions, write them down, remember them, and I'll check in with you in about 40 minutes after we get a good ride. So coaches, it's all yours.
Okay, so today the workout we're going to do is called spin ups. It's an active recovery workout. The big goal is to develop our pedaling efficiency on the bike. So we want to go ahead, hop on our bikes and start out with a nice, easy 10-minute warm up. If everybody's not already on there. So we want to be at a rating of perceived exertion of around a 4 or 5. We want to have our heart rate down below 70% of our aerobic threshold, or power at less than 65% of our functional threshold power. So it should be easy to breathe or carry on a conversation at this intensity. And we want to just focus on pedaling nice and smooth. Everybody able to get going so far? Juice. Anybody have any questions about their bike fit or anything like that, or anything that we did on the workout yesterday? Anybody want to talk about any of that stuff at all?
I'll jump in.
What you got, Kelly?
So this is maybe a question for a benefit of the group. How many people yesterday, A, rode without bike shorts, and B, even if you had bike shorts, maybe thought there was still a little too much friction going on? Nobody? Because it's a lot of times, yeah, that's a lot of times the very first thing I hear.
Never ride without them.
What?
Never ride without them.
Good. Yeah.
Like a lot of people starting out, they've got issues with wearing cycling shorts. If you don't want to, be out in your spandex in public or whatever, you can wear your spandex underneath some baggy shorts. They make baggy shorts that are usually marketed as like a touring short or a mountain bike short that has a liner in there. That your riding shorts cut down on friction. They also help hold your flesh in place, which itself is a really good shock absorber, absorbing impact. That's what, is padding you in between your sit bones and the saddle on the bike.
And then
I did have one question, right? Oh.
Go for it.
I don't ride inside very much, but yesterday I was noticing I was getting like some hot spots in my feet from pedaling. Is that common, being on a trainer versus being out on the road and you can stand up more and sit on more and cruise, or?
So in general, I would consider trainers to be less comfortable than riding on the road because you're in a much more static position and you don't move around as much. It's possible, again, because you're getting less airflow while sitting on the trainer, that again might cause your feet to feel a little bit more hot. A lot of times a hot spot on your foot can be caused by having your cleats not positioned exactly where you want them. So Jonathan, when I worked on your bike a few weeks ago, we talked about, addressing your fit. So we need to do that, and that's one of the things that we should actually take a look at, is even your cleat position, and work our way up from there.
Perfect. Thank you. I can
Yeah.
read now.
Oh, yep.
Just like Jonathan was talking about some hot spots on his feet, being on the trainer, if you think about being on the trainer versus being outside on the road, there are no stoplights to unclip for. There are no stop signs to slow down or yield. There's no hills where you're standing up. So kind of getting into that habit of standing up and taking some pressure off your butt, taking some pressure off your hands and your feet every 15, 20 minutes or so, just stand up and stretch a little bit, because it's really, really easy to get stiff and sore being in the same position, especially when you're doing intervals like we did yesterday, being on the trainer, because you're not moving, you're not really having any of those coasting opportunities like you do on the road. So getting into those good habits will help once you get out onto the road as well.
I was also just going to make a plug for using something called chamois butter or lube. It's it's like almost a requirement. I know very, very few people who don't use it. But I also find that it's like this hidden secret in cycling for people who are just getting into cycling. The rest of us don't do a very good job about being hey, you need to use lube. It makes a huge difference. So there's all kinds of different brands and products and stuff. It is very awkward. I recommend putting it on outside your car and staring at your cycling buddies right in the eye while you do it, but it makes the ride a lot more comfortable.
I was in the YouTube video when we filmed, when I was talking about saddles and addressed chamois cream, I got my terminology confused, and I meant to say body glide and I said dry slide. I'm surprised that one of these service members didn't call me out on that.
Missed it. Sorry, Ray.
All right.
I should have picked up on that.
All right, so you talk about these parameters at the beginning, so like heart rate and RPMs. In the thresholds, can you, I don't know my threshold for that, so can we go over that in person? And
So again, it's where we're using, for you, Marty, we want to be using our rating of perceived exertion. So, again, right now, nice and easy. So, you're just trying to warm up, let your body know that something's coming. So, on a scale of a 1 to a 10, you're down, maybe like a 4 or 5. You should be able to breathe easily. You should be able to carry on a conversation. So that's the kind of intensity level you want to be at, just kind of, letting the body know something's coming. So, maybe a light jog type of activity, maybe even a vigorous walk or whatever. But this, yesterday was the hard work. Today's more, we're trying to build our pedaling skills and efficiency and let the body recover. So then you guys can go ahead and get your hard work out tomorrow, whatever that may be.
I don't know if you guys can see, I know all the screens are kind of small and this might actually be mirrored. So let me know if this is backwards for you. But I wrote out an Rpe scale. I think this is backwards. It's mirrored.
That's the right way.
But you said that was good? Okay. Yeah, so on a scale of 1 to 10, this is, the scale that Ray was talking about. 1 is basically you're on the couch watching TV, flat, just clicking through, super, super easy. And then, 2 through 4 is kind of what we would call active recovery. It's easy to talk, easy to carry on a conversation. And then 4 and 5, rate of perceived exertion or RPE, that's kind of your cruising pace. You can do that for a couple hours. Maybe you're breathing through your mouth maybe, but still relatively easy and sustainable for a few hours. And then we get to RPE level 6. And that's kind of what we would consider tempo effort. So maybe something that you could sustain for an hour and 15 minutes or so. You can speak in short sentences before you need to take a breath. And then as we get up to the higher levels, 7 and 8, that's going to be a challenging pace. So maybe you can only say a short phrase before you take a breath. And then 8 and 9, this is like race pace. So this is 8 and 9 would be about what you would be at during a time trial. You know, it's not a full-on sprint, but you can say maybe one word, 1 or 2 words, you know, a grunt, that kind of thing. And then 10 is maximal full gas effort. So like a full-on sprint. And if you guys can see that, you know, take a screen grab if you want, but we can send this out as well. And then a side-by-side with the percentage of FTP, that's your functional threshold power. So as you guys get a little bit more experienced, you know, maybe you spend more time training on the bike or training on the trainer, you'll start looking at power and things like that. But for right now, we're just going to use RPE, which is applicable even at the highest levels of racing, because power is just a number. But if you can't physically go any harder, it doesn't matter how many watts you're putting out. So after that explanation, do you guys have questions? Okay. I know it's hard getting on and off of mute. Hello, Captain Schaefer. Welcome.
On your riding clothes.
Yeah. Whatever. Daryl has one of those like foot pedal things under his desk, so he's just constantly pedaling all day while he's cranking out office work.
In his
Hey,
sandals.
Daryl, I can't see where you are. Are you at the Pentagon? Are you at work? Or are you at home?
Daryl doesn't have microphone access because he is in the Pentagon.
Awesome. Thank you, Daryl.
They don't actually let him talk.
Oh wait, does that work now?
Hey,
Oh my God!
it worked.
Is that really your voice?
Hey, buddy.
Okay, well you notice here's my cycling jersey. I do have it. I biked in today.
They're letting
Awesome.
you talk now. I'm so impressed.
Yay.
All right, folks.
And
Let's go
because
ahead
they
and-
finally opened up the pool, the gym, I was able to get a swim in today too. So
Cool.
I saw that. One of my athletes is there too. She's been in the pool like every day this week. I'm like, slow down, killer. That's awesome.
All right, so we want to get started with our first spin up here shortly. So it's going to be a little bit different than yesterday. Yesterday we would shift into a harder gear and then work hard. So today, when we start our spin ups, we'll actually shift into an easier gear. Then we're going to raise our cadence and pedal faster. So we're not really trying to work any harder, just trying to pedal a little bit faster. So we're trying to build that leg speed, and we want to practice perfect pedaling. It's important, I want you all to stay nice and smooth. Don't try to get your RPMs up so fast that you start to lose technique, but I want you to push your outer limits a little bit for about 30 seconds, and then we'll go back to your more natural pedal cadence. So get ready here and go ahead. Let's rev it up for 30 seconds. Go. Shift in a little lighter gear. Get your RPMs nice and high. Try to keep your hips steady.
Nice work, guys.
You can go ahead and revert to your normal, comfortable pedaling, your own self-selected cadence. What we're trying to do is get where our selected cadence might be a little higher than what it is when we are a brand new cyclist. So we've got another 4.5 minutes now where we're just going to spin a nice, comfortable cadence. It's a good time to get a drink of water. Go ahead and try some different positions with your hands. Let the pressure move around a little bit.
So I had a really great learning point from my time trial earlier today, and it had to do with cycling dynamics and form on the bike. If you guys want me to share, I can.
Go for it.
So today I did a time trial, which is like basically all out for 30 minutes, or a distance, which was like 17K. But I was shooting, so my functional threshold power has been 160 for a while. And I was shooting to hold 170. And that's basically like how much force you're putting out onto the pedals. And what I was finding was that, you know, I would shift into an easier gear. My cadence would be close to like 80 or 95 to 100. And I'd be below my 170 goal. I'd be at like 150 or something. And then I would shift up and my cadence would still be around like 95, maybe 90. And I would be way over, like 180, 190 FTP. And what I found was if I focused on keeping my core stable, not moving around on the bike, core nice and stable, and remembering my pedal revolution like Ray was talking about yesterday with scraping the mud off the bottom of your shoe, I was exactly on target. But the second I got sloppy, I was all over the map. So I just thought that was like, I was gonna put that in my notes for Coach Greta. But I thought that was like a really good like reminder that how much your form on the bike really does matter. It's not all about just like mashing down with your quads.
Yeah, so that's where we're just trying to be efficient, and these little bits help you use the power that you do generate, more effectively, put it to the pedals, so you can go out, ride hard for a longer period of time, be comfortable, have more fun.
Yeah, and Kelly kind of touched on a point that we were talking about yesterday regarding pedaling efficiency, of the importance of keeping your upper body still and stable, having your core engaged and solid so that your upper body is still, and then you're driving with your legs, having that separation between your upper and your lower body. We talked about that a little bit yesterday, and being as smooth and stable up top and efficient as possible with your pedal stroke so that you can maximize all of your power output. It's not going to help you go any faster if you've got all this extra energy. You're wasting energy moving all around instead of channeling that and focusing that onto your pedals. There's no extra, there's no bonus at the end of a ride or a race for being more tired. So you should be spending all that energy trying to go forward, trying to go faster on your bike or more efficiently on your bike.
If anyone hasn't taken the opportunity yet, go ahead and stand up out of the saddle a little bit, get a little blood flow down south, use a couple different muscles for a second, spread it out a little bit. And you don't want to be just sitting on the seat all the time. You want to move around, use some different muscles, encourage some blood flow down there.
It looks like today everybody is on an upright bike from what I can see on my screen. It doesn't look like we have any recumbent riders working out today. So standing up out of the seat is also a really important skill to have, and developing that coordination of your legs moving, alternating up and down and kind of swaying your body a little bit opposite the foot that's down at 6 o'clock. So developing that coordination on the trainer can be helpful for a lot of people and make it easier once you do go out onto the road and ride. You're coming up to a hill, you just stand up out of the saddle, a couple pedal strokes, and you're up over the top. It's really common for riders, especially newer riders, when they stand up, their bike, if they were leaving a paint line on the road, their bike would be zigzagging all over the place. Again, from not having an engaged and solid core, but that coordination piece just takes time to develop. So the trainer, it's obviously not like riding the road, but can be a good opportunity to develop that coordination and just having loose arms. Philip, you were doing a really good job of that, having loose arms and a relaxed upper body while you were standing. So nice job on that. And I'm pumped. Today I can see everybody's names. So yesterday I couldn't see them. Just like, oh yeah, go red shirt guy. Yeah.
All right. We're a little past due for our spin up. We'll get started here in about 15 seconds. Get a new time schedule.
My bad.
That's all right. Keeps it interesting. All right. Spin it up. Easier gear, high cadence, maintain good form. We're not really trying to work any harder now, just trying to get those feet moving a little bit faster.
I'm sharing my coffee mug with everybody because it's my favorite coffee mug. It's my Como Se Llama.
All right. Normal pedaling. Everyone back to your self-selected cadence. And so one of the reasons we pedal rapidly, it's more efficient to pedal at a relatively high pace. And one of the things that as you're pedaling using the muscles in your legs, they'll actually, I've been told that it assists, they'll help your heart to move the blood through your body. So it's taking some of the work away from your heart and allowing the muscles in your legs as a secondary function to pump the blood through. So anyhow, I can definitely tell you for sure, using a trainer hooked up, to power and cadence, that it is more efficient, a fairly, what new cyclists consider a high cadence. Perfect practice makes perfect, so don't get sloppy now trying to get there, but it's something that we want to work towards.
So Ray, this is kind of a question for everyone else. How fast of a cadence should you go, or what is too fast?
So there's not necessarily a real solid line. A good target cadence in numbers is 90 RPMs. And then I like to use the phrase or a comparison that we might pedal a bike similar to marching in double time. Again, not that I'm an expert at all in marching, but some of my peeps that have spent time marching and riding bikes say it's about the same. And if you feel like you don't want to be spinning so fast that you're not doing anything, you don't want to be doing like the gerbil in the habit trail. Don't spin fast to impress people that you're able to pedal at a really fast pace. I'll have people that I've spoken to, they're like, oh yeah, I want you to pedal fast, and they'll get on and they'll try to impress me. And again, find what is natural for yourself. And we want to work, it should maybe be 80, 90 RPMs. If you're a brand new cyclist and it's down around 60 to be smooth, that's fine. But we'll work on it, and you'll get more efficient over time.
I find that a lot of times people who are new to cycling too, they'll be like, oh my God, breathing so hard. Like there's no such thing as easy. like maybe the flywheel is really tight on the back tire or whatnot. But really what people need to become comfortable doing is shifting and using the full range of their cogs in order to get to a resistance on your cranks that you can move the pedals quickly, but still put out, efficient watts. But really, really key is actually shifting. I mean, when we're on the, I'm muted. I said when we're on the road, we're shifting all the time, for the most part.
That's a good point, Kelly, because a lot of people kind of fall into the habit of they have their preferred cadence and they just ride in one gear all the time. And so when they take their bike in for maintenance, 9 of their 10 cogs are in pristine condition. They've never been used, and 1 is worn down so desperately that it needs to be replaced. Your gears, you have 20 speeds on your bikes. The recumbents have triple up front, so even more. Your gears are there to be used, and your gears are there to help you stay within your cadence range. So what gears you need to be in to stay in that cadence range. Now, generally speaking, a lower cadence is going to rely more on your muscular strength, and a higher cadence is going to rely more on your cardiovascular strength and efficiency. So sometimes you see people just who are more maybe aerobically fit tend to skew a little bit higher on their preferred RPM, and somebody who is a little bit more muscular will probably tend to skew towards that lower cadence. You're doing the same amount of work, you're just slicing the pie a little bit differently.
All right, you guys about ready for another one? All right, easy gear, spin it on up. 30 seconds.
Really think about scraping that mud off the bottom of your shoe as you're coming through the bottom of the pedal stroke, and pull through the pedal stroke and push up over the top, like you're going forwards and backwards with your foot instead of up and down.
Heads up, we want to be looking where we're going. Good habits, perfect practice. All right, let's normal cadence. Everybody get comfortable. Another stretch out of the saddle maybe, get some blood flow down south.
Nice work, you guys.
Smooth is fast. So, and a lot of times new riders, they tend to make adjustments tend to over adjust. So when you want to accelerate, generally accelerate kind of gradually. When you want to decelerate, easy on the brakes. When you're cornering, you don't need to overcook it going in. Be patient with the bike, patient with yourself. Small adjustments will go a long ways.
Hey, I have a question about cadence and breathing, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I've got a buddy who says that he likes a slower cadence because he synchronizes his breathing with his cadence, and he wants to go up to a higher cadence, but he can't break the habit. He doesn't want to be like panting really fast, Have you heard of this issue?
That's a new one.
I haven't heard of it phrased as a limiting factor, but it can be really helpful to kind of sync your breathing with your breathing rate with your cadence. I know for myself, when I was time trialing, I would tend to get into a rhythm of a long inhale and a long exhale, and try to have 2 or 3 pedal strokes per inhale and exhale. And focusing on that, for me, that was really helpful because it helps me to control my breathing, because it is, especially when you're going hard, especially when you're getting really, really tired, it's easy to just start coming apart. And so being able to control your breath, and it takes a lot of practice. This is not something that will happen overnight, but with practice and a concerted effort, controlling your breathing and practicing breath work can be really, really helpful in not only your efficiency, but then also kind of calming your nerves and knowing that, okay, I will always be able to take a deep breath and get enough air, even when you're totally redlined, can be really comforting. Because Philip, like you said, if your friend is starting to get like almost like panicky, like hyperventilating, that you're already getting tired, first of all, and then you're starting to hyperventilate on top of it. You're getting lightheaded. So it kind of starts to spiral into this kind of disaster storm or potential disaster. And so slowing your breathing rate and taking deeper breaths, a lot of athletes, endurance athletes, will practice belly breathing. Even to the point, and there's a lot of like yoga instructors will work on this, and meditation will help you with this, is, taking as deep a breath as you can and filling up your belly with air instead of just your lungs. Because especially, like Kelly right now is on a time trial bike, being in that kind of more tucked position can, if you're not working on it, it can kind of inhibit your airflow and your breathing. And so practicing those things can really, really pay dividends.
Awesome. Thank you.
In about 15 seconds, we'll do one more spin up here.
And if you ever get into any singing, they have to do a lot of belly breathing and singing.
All right, ease your gear, spin it up, get them revs going. 30 seconds.
Just tying into what the coaches are saying there, I know a lot of athletes ask, hey, why should I go to that yoga class, or why should I go to that? Well, for whatever your sport is, if you have really good breathing technique that you can learn in a good yoga class, and it's going to allow you to keep calm in the
normal cadence. But
it's also going to help you with your breathing. So practice that by taking that time in your recovery, but not only stretching your body in a yoga class or a Pilates class, but also learning the breathing that coach is talking about. And you'll really see it benefit you come race day, come practice day.
And also, like Philip, your friend that's using breathing and are linking that, it is typical. A lot of people will have sort of a mantra that they'll say while they're riding, be it spin, fast. I got a friend, he sings to himself, I'm black, I'm beautiful, I'm strong. And that's his mantra while he's out riding. So different people have different things, that they're going to focus on. My breathing rate and my pedal rate are not correlated that closely. So I'd try to look for something else.
Does don't die count as a mantra?
Yeah, I think that it might not be the most positive, but
come on, legs. There's only one more hill.
Yeah, positive self-talk makes a huge difference. Obviously, you guys are here at the cycling clinic, but it doesn't matter what sport you're doing or what activity you're doing or just generally in life. Having getting your mind thinking more positively and having that, listening less to that devil on your shoulder and more to the angel, right? And being like, I can do this. Like, yes, there's one more hill and I feel like, and I've been out of water for the last 15 minutes. I just need a Coke, really. But you know what? I can do it. Because I will feel way better if I stop here. Not only have I quit, but it's baking. I will app because then you still have to get home. So you might as well just finish out your workout and finish out your ride.
Awesome. And Coach, we'll give Roger less to have to bleep and edit, so we'll keep it PG-13 for our family members who'll be watching this.
Sorry.
You get a bunch of service
Common words should be part of the vocabulary.
All right, so how much time do we have left in this ride? For me, I kind of want to know where the finish line is.
We're wrapping up here. We did our last spin up there. We only got about a minute or so left here in our warm down.
Woo!
Really good work, everybody. Another awesome session.
Philip, if you had a computer on your bike, you could count this toward Strava. Just saying, buddy.
You could probably enter it as a manual ride, can't he?
Yeah, but how far has he gone?
Yeah, that's hard.
You make an estimation.
You went at least a mile, so call it 3.
At least a mile.
A little passive-aggressive trash talk from our soldier. That's okay.
All right. If you guys, anybody wants to hop off your bike, I'll give you permission. So Patrick, do we want to do some more questions and answers and stuff here?
Awesome. Yeah. So we've got about like 7 or 8 or so minutes as you guys are cooling down. What's wonderful about Cycle is you can see we can still talk and ask questions in our pack while we're cruising in. So why don't we just open up the floor here? Roger can kind of see, but you guys just jump in if you have a question or input. Just go ahead and start, and we will take a couple of minutes with some questions.
I do have a couple questions. So when it comes to, I know we touched on it on my question, but like, should I know my heartbeat at some rate? So when I want to go full speed, should I have a target heartbeat? When I want to go medium speed and low speed, is that something that can help, or what do you recommend?
So
Ray, go ahead.
All right. So if you don't, so the first thing, if you're going to train with heart rate, you need to have a heart rate monitor, really, to be very, practical about it. Great. So then you can, just use simple mathematic estimations of, your maximum heart rate and what your anaerobic threshold may or may not be. Those have a lot of limitations. What would be more practical is to do an anaerobic threshold test, which so you're going to follow your warm-up protocol, and then you're going to take a ride for 20 minutes, basically as hard as you can, and then you'll look at your average heart rate for that 20 minutes, multiply that by 0.95, and that is going to be your aerobic threshold heart rate. And then you can set your training zones based off of that aerobic threshold heart rate and use it to monitor your progress. You can see like, okay, I'm at this heart rate, and today I can average 16 miles per hour. Down the road, if you can be at that same heart rate and you can average 18 miles per hour, then you know that you've gained efficiency there.
Okay. Great, Andreas.
The only thing I would add is that while you're using heart rate, also be cognizant of your perceived exertion, because heart rate is easily impacted by caffeine, by sleep, the amount of sleep that you have, stress from the rest of your life. All of these things can have an impact on your heart rate as well. If you're getting sick, things like that. So be cognizant of your heart rate and your perceived exertion on that scale of 1 to 10, like we talked about.
So efficiency is key, right? So like, how do you manage your efficiency? How do you track, hey, when I should be pedaling this fast, RPMs, like what is your data? What do you use instead of heartbeat?
So for me personally, when I was training, I had a power meter, and I would train with, it was a computer that actually measured the force of every pedal stroke. So it showed my effort in a unit called watts or wattage. Now I use just perceived exertion. I'm not training for anything in particular, but I also have a long history of getting in tune with my body and my effort in relation to a specific power output. Power is, I think, it's really important for training when you're racing for a specific event, but I think there's a little bit too much emphasis that's put on it and not enough on power. So for instance, when I was in an actual race, I would train with power, but in an actual race, I would still collect the information, collect the data from a GPS and Ant Plus enabled cycling computer, but I would not look at the information itself. I would race purely off of power, because a lot of times people get caught up in, like, in their running pace. For instance, they say, oh my God, I've never run at 5.5 minute mile pace before. I can't go any harder. But if they listen to how they were actually feeling at that moment, maybe they could have broken through that 5.5 minute barrier. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
So being in tune with what your effort, what your perceived exertion or your perceived effort is on that day, I think is paramount.
And just we're gonna jump in on that, and I don't want to get any deeper into that, because we're gonna jump in on that and have a coffee hour talk to talk about perceived exertion and bring in cycling, rowing, and running, because those are three. And this will be a good hour and a half of good stuff. So this is very good, deep stuff. So thank you for bringing that up, and we'll schedule that sometime in the next 2 weeks and get everybody on there and get deep into that. So thank you, Andreas. That's really good question, really good input. Any other, we're just going to take, is there one more question from any of our newbies? I love seeing Andreas there on the bike. How about any of our other new folks who are their first time on the bike? Like, how'd you do, or anything that any parting questions before we start heading into the, I'm used to saying into the boathouse, but what, into
I do have another question on that one, Dad.
Let's see if somebody else has a question first, Andreas.
No, that's what I said.
Okay.
Well, I'm not a pure newbie, but I do have a question.
All right.
And that, so I brought up cycling computers earlier. And I don't know, are there any recommendations for the information it uses or type? Maybe to use. Like for me, I was struggling between Garmin and a Wahoo, and I ended up finding a good deal on one of those on Amazon, so I went with that. And something with buttons, because I sweat a lot and I don't want my fingers to be crazy, or I've been in rain too. So is there any input you might have as far as what someone might look for?
And that's,
Yeah, go for it, Ray.
Yeah, I've got a Garmin that, I use some. I particularly would encourage someone buying a bike computer and looking for some data to have a cadence sensor on there where they can monitor how fast they're pedaling. And, really just, other features on bike computers, they're nice. If you can have, something like a Garmin where you, track routes, find your way home, it's a thing of beauty. We didn't have that stuff when I started. And, if you've already bought a Wahoo one or whatever, then you've got one, so you're good. I wouldn't go buy another one if you've already got something. If you lose it, then, something, will come up. But for now, I'd master that one before I look for something else.
Yeah, you can get a bike computer for as cheap as like $30, just a simple speedometer, like cadence speedometer kind of thing, for like $30. It's gonna cost you a couple $100, but for me, concussions. And so being able to program a route and follow was so helpful for me, because I would go out on my bike and just get lost because I didn't know my way. And so being able to follow a map with turn-by-turn directions was super nice. So that's like the two ends of the spectrum, and there's all sorts of stuff in between.
Great. Okay, last question.
Same thing about, can I just finish just real quick?
Is that
Turn-by-turn
Kelly?
directions, you can get those as cheap now as the Garmin 520s, which are only like, I think $150, $200 now. Somebody just bought one, and I didn't realize that feature was getting onto the lower models now, which is awesome.
So great. I'm going to ask Kelly, Greta, and Coach Ray to just send any of this amazing knowledge you have about like all this technical stuff, and just send it in to me. And what we'll do is we'll save it as a part of this clinic, like just kind of a working document. So even later, if you want to add stuff, anything that you think would be helpful. But definitely, as we can see, we want to follow up with this and have a good coffee chat with just going over the technology and stuff, because we have a lot of knowledge here. I know just for the cyclists on here, between Kelly, Greta, and Ray, they've got so much knowledge. So we want to pick their brains and get it all to pass on to create these new cyclists that we found this week that you guys have helped make. So I just want to, we're going to start wrapping up here. Just one thing that I heard a lot of people mention from yesterday was like thinking about being sure you have your earbuds, something like that. I think Kelly mentioned that to me in the parking lot when we were doing a handoff yesterday, which we look suspect, is having earbuds when you're doing these indoor cycling events, so that way you can hear if your some people mentioned their trainer was loud. So other than that, coaches, is there any last information you want to give before we wrap up here?
The only thing for me is just thank you guys for calling in. Thank you guys for participating. I think this was a really successful first virtual clinic, and I hope to see you guys either at another virtual clinic soon or ideally in person.
Yes, in person.
Cycle smooth, folks. Drink lots of water. Thanks for your attention. Enjoy riding.
Awesome. Well, thank you, coaches, and thank you. I want to send definitely a special shout out to Kelly, who got us about 7 or 8 trainers here. She's modest about it, but I mean, it really made a huge difference having people have trainers. So just the general community, which has really been great about this, is the cycling community just came together. There were people all over the city who were like, yes, I'll bring it. So just that being a part of what we all share in our military experience of being a part of a team. And we see those teams in a lot of individual sports that are also team. And we see cycling is about being a part of a team. You're a part of a pack. And so we've got a new little pack here. We've got some new animals joining in the pack here today. And Kelly's going to try to get me on my bike someday and make me actually exercise. But I just want to say thank you guys all. It's from the Military Adaptive Sports Program. If you have any questions or any information that you want to find out, definitely contact me, or you can go on the Warrior Care website. Once again, Warrior Care website. You'll find this clinic as well as the other 2 days for it up mid next week. And really, we're going to take it into Friday. It's the beginning of the weekend starting tomorrow. So everybody go out and have a safe ride tomorrow. Have a good day today. Remember to hydrate and smile and enjoy what you're doing. So thanks a lot for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.